changed, thanks to the difference in problem-solving, philosophy, science, and technology. Different career fields use different methods of critical thinking, with some methods remaining unchanged and some changing drastically. This presentation will cover some of the history of critical thinking and how it has changed. It will also cover some different methods of thinking and how the introduction of modern technology drastically changed many of these methods. But to begin, we must go back 2,500 years to a man named Socrates. According to criticalthinking.org, Socrates developed a method of thinking by probing questioning people that could not rationally justify their claims of knowledge. Confused meanings and inadequate evidence lived beneath the smooth, empty rhetoric. He developed the thought that people cannot trust those in authority to have sound knowledge, and proved that power does not mean having knowledge. Socrates developed a method of thinking called the Socratic method or Socratic questioning. This is based off of gathering evidence, examining it closely, analyzing basic concepts, and tracing meanings of what is said and done.
Socrates was one of the greatest philosophers the world has ever known. He did something that only a handful of men in all history have been able to do. He sharply changed the whole course of human thought. And now, 24 centuries after his death, he is honored as one of the wisest persuaders who ever influenced this world. So how did he do it? Did he tell people they're wrong? Well, not Socrates. He was far too clever for that. His whole technique, now called the Socratic method, was based upon getting a yes-yes response. He asked questions with which his opponents would have to agree. He kept on winning one admission after another until he had an armful of yeses. He kept on asking questions until finally, almost without realizing it, his opponents found themselves embracing a conclusion they would have bitterly denied few minutes previously. The next time you're tempted to tell someone he or she is wrong, remember old Socrates and ask a gentle question. A question that will get the yes response.
The Socratic method of questioning everything has been used countless times, while other writers and philosophers throughout time began to perceive critical thinking in their own ways. With all of this history, there will be too much to cover and will require much more in-depth study. But within the last 100 years, critical thinking has turned to more advanced topics involving technology, politics, war, science, and education. During the early 1900s, critical thinking took a hard turn towards technology, with Henry Ford creating the automated factory working to make cheap, mass-produced goods that helped workers make higher wages. This brought Ford Motor Company, starting with the Model T. But involving critical thinking, this took a lot of work to figure out how to make mass production cheaper goods with a lot of things. With new automated factories, workers could package meat a lot faster, start making vehicles. They could start creating more and more things, leading us into an industrial revolution. Critical thinking without this technology would have sparked nothing during this age. And leading into, say, World War I and World War II, the critical thinking with this new technology was very important for not only technological advances, but also having an advantage in the wars and an advantage in worldly power. That's a difficult word to say. But all in all, critical thinking during the early 1900s was really based around basic mechanics, and it was very, very important, especially for the Industrial Revolution. Critical thinking in any topic, whether it's technology, politics, science, or education, is all based around making problems easier to solve. And with politics, it's all about making rules and regulations for what politicians can and can't do, and making laws for the people in all the states and the country. With education, it's figuring out how the country and teachers and everyone else can teach students how to not how to receive a better education, but how to develop new ways and better ways of providing an education to students, not only in wealthy areas or more populated areas, but all over the country for those who are poor, for those who live out where no one else knows where it is, where it's much less populated. But with technology, it's all really about finding ways to make everything easier. Not being lazy per se, but finding and creating faster ways of solving any problem. Coming into the late 80s, mid 80s, 90s, with the creation of computers, we as humans started being able to solve problems much, much faster, leading to us having more problems with computers and trying to make them better. But there's always something missing. Even though critical thinking is supposed to be about problem solving and finding a better way of doing something and evaluation, there's always something missing. And this isn't just in the evaluation process or the planning process or researching process. It's little bits here and there with every single step. There's never going to be a perfect system. There's always going to be minor flaws that are going to be want to be improved on. But even with this, there's always going to be something there, some minor design flaw or some minor coding flaw. And with coding, it's all based on algorithms and how we can, again, solve problems faster. But the large issue with this right now is that even though coding makes things simple and quick, it takes a very long time for code to be developed, especially for very, very random problems. Not basic problems like searching something on Google or finding some file faster or loading a website faster. It's always something very random that computers never really can help. Like problems with psychological in new automated cars. There are many problems with that can't really be solved right now, especially when it comes to a situation where it's between saving one life or saving 5 lives, or saving the driver's life, or saving someone else's life. It's very, very difficult. There's a very fine line, really, right now on how many of these problems can be solved, because there's only so much that we as humans can do. Even though the brain has very, very large capacity, we have to take very small steps at a time to reach what we want to reach. And that's pretty much the point where we're doing everything based off of technology and computers. And a lot of people may not realize it, but 30, 40 years into the future, everything might be done with robots, or everything might be done by computers. And it's scary to think about it now, but realistically, there's always going to be humans who have to do something. Whether it's making sure these computers stay functional, making sure this technology stays operational, finding new applications for technology and computer science and coding. But it all comes down to who is going to do it and when. Because, like I said before, we just can't do it right now. Just because of limited resources and baby steps towards solving this overall problem of finding ways to fix all these little tiny flaws that we have right now. And overall, the way we're going, critical thinking is a very, very important aspect in development of the human race and in technology, politics, education. And without it, we wouldn't be anything. We would not be nearly as advanced as we are today. And with that, I would say that again, critical thinking is very important. And with Socrates coming back in with his method of taking information, analyzing it, and creating step-by-step plans on how to create not problems, but plans and algorithms on what to do to solve problems. Even though there will always be flaws, critical thinking will always help. Thank you very much.